Hi all, welcome to Math Easy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about two-step linear equations. Consider the example minus x by 2 plus 3 equal to 9. To solve this linear equation, first we need to isolate the variable x. For that, let us first avoid positive 3 from the left side of the equation. To do that, what we need to do is, we have to take the inverse of positive 3. Inverse means if positive 3 is there, its inverse is negative 3. For the negative 3, the inverse is positive 3, which means for positive, negative is the inverse. So, first we need to isolate the variable x. So, first we need to avoid the positive 3 from this side. So, for doing that, I am going to add negative 3 to the left side of the equation. When we add or subtract something on the left side, you have to do the same thing on the right side also to balance the equation. So, the first step is we have to avoid the positive 3 on the left side. To do that, I am taking the inverse of positive 3, which is negative 3. So, when we do negative 3 on one side, you should do the same thing on the other side also to balance the equation. So, I am subtracting negative 3 from both sides. As a result of it, what will happen? The positive 3, negative 3 will get cancelled out. It will become 0. Now, what is 9 minus 3? It's going to be 6. So, here what is left behind? Minus x by 2. So, minus x by 2 equal to 6. That is what is available now. That is the first step. Now, what is the second step? To isolate this variable x, what we have? Minus 1 by 2. Minus x by 2 means minus 1x by 2. So, minus 1 by 2 x is available on the left side and 6 is available on the right side. So, to isolate this variable x, now what we need to do? We have to multiply times negative 2. So, what will happen when you multiply negative 2? Here you can see the negative times negative will become positive and 2 and 2 that will get cancelled out. Now the x got isolated. That is equal to, here 6 is available, but what we have done, we have multiplied negative 2 on the left side. So you have to do the same thing on the right side also to balance the equation. So now what is left here? 2 and 2 got cut, the negative times negative that became positive, and now we are left with the variable x alone. So, x that is equal to 6 times negative 2, that is going to be equal to negative 12. Now, the value of the variable x is equal to negative 12. Consider the example negative 7x minus 5 equal to negative 47. So, our aim is to isolate this variable x. For that, the first step is we have to avoid negative 5 on the left side. For that, you have to take the inverse of negative 5, which is positive 5. So, I am simply adding 5 on the left side. When you add or subtract any number on one side, you should do the same thing on the other side also to balance the equation. So, what I am doing is, we have to isolate negative 5. So, I am taking the inverse of negative 5, which is positive 5, and I am doing the same thing on the other side also. Now, what will happen? This negative 5 and positive 5 will become cancelled out and you will be left with negative 7x on the left side. Now, what is negative 47 plus 5? That is going to be equal to negative 42. Now, what we are left with is negative 7x equal to negative 42. Now, to isolate this variable x, we have to avoid this negative 7. So, this negative 7x means negative 7 times x. So, to avoid this, I am just dividing it by negative 7. So, when you do something on one side, you should do the same thing on the other side also. So, I am just dividing negative 7 on both sides. As a result of it, what will happen? This negative 7 and this negative 7 will get cancelled out and the variable x will become isolated. So negative 7, why are you dividing negative 7? In order to isolate the x, this negative 7 should be avoided. So what is the way to avoid the negative 7? You have to divide it by negative 7 so that this negative 7 and this negative 7 will get cancelled out and the variable x will become isolated. Now what is negative 42 divided by negative 7? That is going to be equal to 6. So x equal to 6 is the solution. Consider the example negative x by 5 plus 4 equal to 12. So our aim is to isolate this variable x. For that, first we need to avoid the positive 4, which is a variable, which is the number associated with the negative x. To do that, we have to take the inverse of positive 4. Inverse of positive 4 is negative 4. So when you add or subtract something on one side, you should do the same operation on the other side also. So I am subtracting negative 4 on both the sides. Now what is left? Here negative x by 5 will be the remaining. Positive 4, negative 4 will become cancelled out. Minus x by 5 is going to be 12 minus 4, which is equal to 8. Now we have to avoid this variable x. What is the number which is associated with this x? Minus 1 by 5. Minus x by 5 means minus 1 by 5x. So we have to avoid this negative and 5 in order to isolate the variable x. For that, what you need to do is you have to multiply negative x by 5 times negative 5. That is equal to, when you do one operation on one side, you should do the same thing on the other side also. So I am multiplying negative 5 on both the sides. Now how can we isolate the variable x? This 5 and 5 will get cancelled out. Negative times negative will become positive. So what you are left with is positive x. So positive x, you don't have to write the positive sign. You can simply write it as x. That is equal to 8 times negative 5 is going to be negative 40. So negative 40 is the value of the variable x. Consider the example x by 10 minus 4 equal to 1. To isolate the variable x, first we need to avoid negative 4. For that, I am taking the inverse of negative 4, which is positive 4. When you do one operation on other side, you should do the same on the other side also. So I am adding positive 4 on both sides. Now what we are left with? Here you are left with x by 10. Negative 4, positive 4 will get cancelled out. That is equal to 1 plus 4, which is 5. So this is what is remaining. Now in order to isolate this variable x, you have to avoid 10 also. To avoid this 10, what we need to do? We should cancel this 10. For that, just multiply 10 on both the sides. When you do that multiplication, this 10 and 10 will get cancelled out, and what is remaining? X, it will remain 5 times 10, that is going to be equal to 50. Here divided by 10. By 10 means divided by 10. Inverse of division is multiplication. Inverse of multiplication, division. So here x by 10, they are giving it as a division form. So you are taking the inverse of it in order to cancel, which is the multiplication. That is why you are saying times 10. Consider the example 7x plus 1 equal to negative 55. Here we have to isolate the variable x. For that, first we need to avoid the positive 1. So inverse of positive 1 is going to be negative 1. So I am subtracting 1 from both the sides. So what will happen? 7x, that will remain. Positive 1, negative 1 will get cancelled out. Minus 55 minus 1, that is going to be equal to minus 56. So here it is like minus 55 minus 1. So minus 55 minus 1, according to the integer operation, it is going to be equal to negative 56. So that is what I have written. Now to isolate this variable x, it is 7x, so which means 7 times x. So as I told you, in order to isolate this, we have to take the inverse of 7. So that is going to be 7 times means now you have to do the division. So 7x by 7 divided by 7. So when you do one add or multiplication or whatever operation you do on one side, you should do the same thing on the other side also. Here it is division. So I am dividing 7 on both the sides. So what will happen? 7 and 7 will get cancelled out. The variable x will become isolated and minus 56 divided by 7 is going to be negative 8. So the value of x is going to be equal to negative 8. Consider the example minus 8x minus 3 is equal to minus 67. To isolate this variable x, first do the inverse of negative 3, which is positive 3. So I am adding positive 3 on both the sides. Now what we are left with is minus 8x, and negative 3 positive 3 will get cancelled out. That is going to be equal to minus 67 plus 3. That is going to be equal to negative 64. So now in order to isolate this variable x, you have to divide both the sides by negative 8, because when you divide both sides by negative 8, what will happen? 8 will get cancelled out. Again this negative divided by negative will become positive. So you are left with the variable x. Now the x got isolated. Now what is minus 64 divided by minus 8? That is going to be equal to 8. So x equal to 8 is the solution. Consider the example minus x by 9 minus 6 equal to minus 5. So now you have to avoid this negative 6 which is near the x. For that I am taking the inverse of negative 6 which is positive 6. So I am adding 6 on both the sides. Now what will happen? You will be left with is negative x by 9. Negative 6 positive 6, that will get cancelled out. That is equal to negative 5 plus 6, that is going to be equal to 1. Negative 5 plus 6. So positive is the highest digit. Positive 6 minus 5 is going to be 1. So that is equal to 1. Now to avoid this minus 1 by 9 which is near the x, you have to multiply minus x by 9 times negative 9 and 1 times negative 9. You have to multiply negative 9 on both the sides in order to isolate x. Why you have to do that? Because when you multiply negative 9, this 9 and 9 will get cancelled out. Negative times negative will become positive. So now you got the variable x isolated. In order to isolate this, we are multiplying negative 9 on both sides. So that is equal to 1 times negative 9 which will be equal to negative 9. So the value of x is going to be equal to negative 9. Consider the example minus x by 3 minus 9 equal to negative 12. So to avoid this negative 9 from the variable near the variable x, we have to take the inverse of negative 9 which is positive 9. So I am adding positive 9 on both sides. As a result of this, negative 9 positive 9 will get cancelled out. You will be left with negative x by 3. That is equal to, what is negative 12 plus 9? That is going to be equal to negative 3. Now, in order to isolate this variable x, what we need to do? We have to avoid this negative sign as well as 3. So, in order to cut this 3, what we should have? We should multiply times 3. Now how to avoid this variable negative? So you have to put a negative sign so that negative times negative will become positive. So you have to multiply negative 3 on both the sides. Now what will happen? This 3 and this 3 will get cancelled out. This negative times negative, that will become what? Positive. So you are left with a variable x which is equal to negative 3 times negative 3. That is going to be equal to 9. So x equal to 9 is the solution. Consider the example minus 6x minus 2 equal to 34. Now the first step is we have to avoid this negative 2. Take the inverse of negative 2 which is positive 2. So add positive 2 on both the sides. So what will happen? Minus 6x will get isolated. Minus 2 plus 2 will get cancelled out. 34 plus 2 is going to be 36. Now we have to isolate the variable x alone. For that, you have to avoid negative 6. So to avoid it, what we need to do? Negative 6, you should be able to cut it out. So just divide both sides by negative 6. So when you divide it, what will happen? This negative 6 and this negative 6 will get cancelled out and the variable x will be isolated. Now what is 36 divided by minus 6? That is going to be equal to minus 6. So x equal to minus 6 is going to be the answer. Hope you have understood about solving two-step linear equation in this video. If you find this video helpful, please subscribe to Math Easy channel and push the like button. Thanks for watching.